like to share an insight that I had about the way our mind creates our sense of self and how that reality works and this model that kind of came to me last night. So imagine there's a vast dark space, and then in that space there's a thread. So we'll call this one thread anger. And then there's another thread, and we'll call that thread sadness. And there's a third thread, and we'll call that thread joy. And a fourth thread that we'll call, I don't know, anxiety. Seems easier to come up with negative threads than positive ones. I'm not sure why that is. Maybe I spend too much time on that. But anyway, point is, imagine there's threads for all the emotions. And then there's another class of threads that would be like your birthday party in 1997 and the that one time you fell off of a bike and that thing that time that you hugged your mom, and each of those are threads too. These memories, they're a different class of thread. So so we have these memories and emotions as all these various threads. Now they're existing out in this void, dark space. Um, and now imagine that you weave them all together, and not into like just something boring like a sheet, but into something. So, like a shirt, the shirt has a shape to it, or like a pillow or a couch, couch cover. It has a shape to it. So, there's a shape that's created by the interweaving of all these different threads. And what I'm saying is that the individual self is that shape. Now, the the issue though that most people, myself included, come up with is that the weaving is very tight. And because the weaving is so tight, it creates a tension. It makes it so that the vast cosmic consciousness that's contained within that shape has difficulty moving around. And it's that it's not, and as the model goes, the void space, the empty space is inside, outside, and in between all the threads. But but as long as the shape is held onto too tightly, it's difficult to transition in and out of these spaces. So so my realization was not only to see myself as this interweaving of complex emotional and memory type threads, but that it's the relaxing and letting the threads kind of float instead of binding, but letting them float. And then you can move more easily through different dimensional space. And so, one of the things I think that makes us so afraid to allow the loosening of these threads is that if you let it, if you release the grip, it'll float off, or it'll go away, or dissolve, or something bad will happen to it. And I totally understand that fear, and I am still kind of struggling with that a little bit myself, even though I've had over and over and over again experiences where the threads dissolve, or the tension dissolves and the threads start to float freely from each other. But they're always there. They will always be there, no matter what happens. It's like that that thread of that thread of a memory, just because you're not attaching to it and clawing into it, it doesn't mean it didn't happen. Now, with emotions, if they're emotions that are unpleasant, it doesn't mean that you cling to the emotion as an experience over and over again. What it means is that you will have um, access to the experience of an emotion, not because a specific emotion like being angry about that event that happened, that's in the class of a memory. Everybody everywhere, no matter who you are, how spiritual you think you are, has access to the entire range of emotions. Whether or not you experience them, that's a whole nother story. But all the emotions are available to us, and depending on how tightly they are bound to us, determines how easily we can move in and out of them. And that's another sticking point. You don't want to be in a place where you get strangled by your own anger because it's too tight. Um, so yeah, I came up with this model because I was trying to sleep and I was having trouble sleeping, and I realized that there was I felt kind of like wrapped in tension, and typically when I do fall asleep, it's I'll notice at some point my body just kind of like it kind of like like there's a very distinct event that happens where my body just relaxes, and then I know, okay, I'm gonna fall asleep shortly. So it made me realize it's the mind holding on to the tension in that weaving, that keeps us here, or well, we're here anyway, but it keeps us kind of locked here. It makes it more difficult to move around, and the other spaces that I'm talking about are, like in your dream space or the other kind of astral space, like places where your mind can go when you're not so fixated on three-dimensional reality. And and it's one of those things, it's for anyone who's skeptical watching this. You just have to try it. There's no matter of convincing that will ever work more effectively than just trying to relax enough yourself so that the threads can loosen, and then you can peek through the holes. So, um, thanks for listening.